Mutts fans, our next guest was drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers in 2020. By 28th overall in the first round. He went on to play 1,264 regular season games with 797 points. Played 162 playoff games and had 102 points. He's won 3 Stanley Cups, a Conn Smythe. He has also had one of the best records in Game Sevens in his career, and he's about to get inducted to the Carolina Hurricanes Hall of Fame. He's the special advisor to the general manager in Carolina. We'd like to welcome to the Too Much podcast, Justin Williams. Justin, how's it going?
What's up? How are you?
I'm pretty good, pretty good. Although things aren't so great here in Alberta for hockey wise, but you know what? They're just things are good. Just enjoying some time off and looking forward to having a great conversation with you. And this is one I've looked forward to a long time. And you always have a list of people you want to interview when you start doing this and getting the opportunity to do it. And so pretty good. How about you guys? You guys are looking forward to some minor hockey games in Boston tonight, looks like there, eh?
Yeah, I tend to do a lot of traveling with my son, my 15-year-old. So we're in Boston right now, and was able to squeeze some time in for this podcast. But yeah, I mean, as you were saying earlier, you're in Alberta. I mean, how late is too late to start, or how early is too early to start complaining, right? Because a lot of
Yeah,
people here in Raleigh are like, well, we're 3-4. What's going on? But we won last night, so it's
yeah.
it's nice up to 4-4, but probably there's a little bit of the same stuff going on in Edmonton there.
It's kind of getting to a little bit of a panic, to be honest, Justin. It's like it's especially with Calgary. There was not many expectations going in for the Flames, and we do a lot of work with the Calgary Flames. Not to try to jam the Oilers up or whatnot. We just had a good rapport with the Flames, and a lot of guys that we've had on or from that team were your former teammates and Tyler Toffoli and Trevor Lewis and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So, when they were there last year, and they're easy to deal with, and we always kind of followed them, but there wasn't many great expectations kind of going in. Is kind of see, they got a lot of guys that are UFAs, but it's been tough. Like the way I compare it in Edmonton, you don't really hear a lot of coaches and players swear, and you're a player yourself, a former player. But like last night, Darnell Nurse is dropping the F bomb in a press conference, and the week before Jay Woodcroft is doing it. So there's a lot of expectations there, but I don't know. It's different. They're obviously the Oilers change up their D system to more of the box plus one, or more of the zone. And as a former player, I don't know. Is that a bit of a tough transition to do when you went from man to man to zone?
Well, any transition is going to take time. It just is. I mean, new personnel is just going to take time.
Yeah,
It just is. To get it the way you want it to get everybody working the way you want them to. It's a process,
yeah,
and that's kind of why I asked the question: how early is too early?
yeah.
I think by the time you get to the 10 game point, you should probably see some type of continuity, some type of good stuff happening on the ice. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you're getting close to that now.
Yeah, and there was a players only meeting in the Oilers locker room last night, so their leadership core kind of had some things to say from the reports out of it. But we'll see. There's obviously this big game on Sunday between the Oilers and Flames, and both teams are going in struggling. And a former teammate in yours and a player that you won 2 Stanley Cups with gets the shutout last night, and Jonathan Quick got to start in Edmonton. So he still has a lot left to give. So it's obviously good to see it. And I'm normally a Leaf fan, Justin. So knowing in Alberta, but I'm getting more to cheering for the players because the been a privilege and an honor to get to know players throughout doing this podcast. And before we kind of get into your career real quick, I guess the big thing is Mike Futa set this interview up. He's a near and dear friend to our hearts, and I know he means a lot to you. And you kind of got him connected with Amazing Grace, and obviously we're going to do a donation towards that charity in your honor for doing this interview. But can you talk about your relationship with Mike and how that relationship started with Amazing Grace Bowen and that great family?
Sure. No, I mean, Mike's a dear friend of mine, and we've spent a lot of great times together. Obviously through the Stanley Cup run, we were together, the runs in Los Angeles, and what he meant to getting that team, the personnel in LA to to ultimately get to where we wanted to go. So we shared some really, really, really fun times together. And conversely, with the Amazing Grace Foundation, as you mentioned, that we shared some times of sorrow as well. So
Yeah.
I it's obviously someone that's dear to my heart, Grace Bowen. And unfortunately she passed a few years ago, and we don't want her legacy to go on and just be forgotten. So I'm happy that you do this. We have a great relationship with Futa, and I appreciate that you're helping out the way you are.
Yeah, no, thanks. It's nice that, and you talk as athletes, and try to do as in the media side here, just giving back and having that importance and try to put smile on people's faces. There's challenging times everywhere in the world right now, but when you can give back and help out, I know that when I was going through a tough time and losing my father at a young age, someone did that for me. So it's nice that you can do it for someone else and be there as support. And do you kind of, when you look back in your career here and you're transitioning and you're there to support your kid, was there someone along the way that kind of did something for you special? I always kind of use this part as like, who was a mentor for you and kind of brought you along? Obviously you're always going to have your parents and your loved ones and whatnot, but was there someone maybe in the hockey community, but also your parents, that kind of helped you along the way throughout your career?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's one person. I mean, it takes an absolute village. It takes a ton of people to get you where you want to go. You have goals as a kid. You want to attain them, but as a kid, how do I do that? Right? Those are the questions. How do I get to where I want to go? And you need leadership, and you need family support to say this is the way to go. They point you in the right direction, but you're the one that ultimately has to walk it.
Yeah.
And throughout my career, obviously my parents and my sister have been unbelievable support system for me. And then as you get older and get into the league, there's players throughout the league that just that resonate with you, and that you watch and you want to emulate. And I've had plenty of those players throughout the league who've I've tried to grab little pieces of what they do.
Yeah.
And be like, yeah, I like that. I'd like to be like that when I get older, and I'd like to have that aura about me. And obviously as you get older, you create more, and then you try and pass that along, and that's all about what leadership is, right? Passing stuff along. And
Yeah.
I've had some great leaders along the way that have been able to show me the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. I know I'm going to name drop here again, but like just talking to Trevor Lewis and Tyler Toffoli yesterday about lining this interview up. There's a few other guys we know too in Commodore and Chimera that you played with as well. And just amazing comments and things that they say there about you. It's just the leadership you had and the character and how much they love you. So just the great long messages.
Oh, how sweet. How sweet.
Exactly. Tell me six, as Biz would say, maybe. But, no, it's pretty cool. Like when you get to see, and then you pass that on to others, and what Trevor Lewis has been able to help other kids with along his career. And now, where Toff is in New Jersey, where it's a younger team, but he's got that experience of winning, and learning from a guy like you can, you're still spread out throughout the league, knowing that you're helping out your kid now and still on the advisory role, but it's still pretty.
No, I mean that's what it is. I mean, that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I see Tyler Toffoli, I see Trevor Lewis, veteran leadership, and I just remember them as kids, right? Coming in. I mean, you're just like, who are these guys leading? But they take little pieces of whatever the heck they want to take along the way, and they've had great experiences and had great successes, and you obviously learn a lot from your failures as well. So I mean, just passing that stuff along is one thing that I think in this business is slowly eroding a little bit, that professionalism, knowing how to win, leadership. It's important. And how do you quantify that when you're building a team? Is questions that obviously need to be answered by GMs.
Yeah. And not to, we talked about the Oilers maybe at the start. And I think the biggest thing is we recorded a post-game podcast last night with kind of our team, and the biggest thing we walked away with is maybe, they're missing some Stanley Cup veterans or some a little bit more leadership in that Oilers locker room. We'll see if that's something they add. You got Ken Holland, who, Hall of Famer and has won many cups throughout his career as a general manager. But just who's the leader that maybe speaks up there, if it's Ekholm or, maybe McDavid just takes more of a bigger role. But it's important to see, and what you guys are doing in Carolina is very special, and one of the best, if not the best, head coach in Rod Bredemore in the game. Looking at what he can do with that group is pretty special. Let's talk about the minor hockey, compared to Canada to the US. You're kind of in the US now, and from when you played minor hockey in Ontario when you were playing to where your son is now, obviously the game's adapted and changed a lot since then too, but is there something pretty cool to see? Because, we had Vernon Fiddler on, and his kid played a lot in Texas these last couple of years. He's with the Oil Kings now, but he talked about a lot of, there's a little just more on ice stuff that's happening maybe in the US. I know you guys got to travel a lot for tournaments and whatnot, but can you compare, from when you played to where your son's playing now?
Sure. I mean, comparisons. It's kind of hard to do. I mean, listen, it number one, it's awesome to see, especially for me, the ability to play elite hockey in Carolina now. That's something 20 years ago you wouldn't never have fathomed, right? You'd be like, what are you playing there for? And obviously the same thing with, Texas, Tampa Bay, Nashville. I mean, these are places where hockey is growing at such a great rate that, they don't really have the rinks to support the amount of players that are getting into the game. So, I mean, specifically for me in Raleigh, we have a really good team in Raleigh. The problem is we got enough for one good team.
Yeah.
And so we have to travel. It's just what we do. We travel 2 weekends out of the month. As I said, we're in Boston right now, kind of where I'm recording this, is at a hotel here. But obviously you could go, where I grew up in Toronto, you could drive an hour any single direction. You could find 3 quality caliber teams that you could play.
Yeah.
Obviously down south, it's just different. So, I don't want to send my kid away to play hockey just yet. He just turned 15 years old. So I'm doing my best to expose him to all the best teams, and have a quality team in Raleigh, which we have.
Yeah. Are you on the coaching staff, or are you more kind of just the father and the
Yeah.
supporting?
Yeah. Head staffer too. And what's funny is Ryan Smith, obviously former Edmonton Captain Canada, is actually my assistant coach on this team as well. So our kids play together, and it's been a fun year so far.
That's awesome. That's awesome for sure. So, is there some moments that you get nervous at times still for these games at times when you're coaching and seeing the kids out there when there's these big tournaments, or is it kind of
coaching's the worst?
Yeah.
Coaching is the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm coaching 15-year-olds, but I mean, I can imagine coaching at the highest level is just super stressful. I mean, because you can't do anything. You just can't do anything. And you lose so much sleep over it. And I tell parents, I'm like, I'm losing sleep over 15-year-olds lying in bed thinking of what I could have done different.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's almost a thankless job at times, right? You put so much into it. But when you see kids move on and you see successes and you see good things happening with the kids, that's what really drives you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool because last year, again, Tyler Toffoli. So I go to this church I go to here in Edmonton. There's a family from Ukraine, and their son's a really good hockey player. He actually started playing in Montreal for a while, and then they moved to Edmonton. And so he's never met an NHL player before. So I brought him to a morning skate, and then I brought him to the Oilers Flames game, and he met Toff after the game, and just the connection that those two had. And just sitting there, just watching him talk. And the year he had after that was just amazing. Just the confidence put in him, and just a cool experience. And he's a 15-year-old now playing AA hockey here in Edmonton. So it's, and then when I go watch the games, I'm the same thing. I'm just like, you want to get out there. It's like you want a video game. You're trying to press a button, but there's no button to press to burst speed. But so you go to the OHL after junior hockey or minor hockey in Ontario. How was it playing in Plymouth, and having Pete DeBoer as your head coach for the 2 years you were there? And you had some pretty good veterans there too that you got to play with.
Yeah, Plymouth was interesting. I was a 6th round pick into Plymouth. into the OHL there. I didn't know what to expect, right? So I went there, made the team my first year there. Then about halfway through the year, wasn't playing very much, wasn't, doing great. And then they sent me down to the junior A team there, the CompuWare Ambassadors. So I finished the year in the NAHL there. Played a couple of playoff games up in Plymouth, but it was the next year after that really I got more comfortable, a little stronger, was able to hang more with the kids because everyone's on a different path, right? I mean, there's 16-year-olds playing with 20-year-olds. Some 16-year-olds aren't physically ready to do it yet. And some 17-year-olds aren't physically ready to do that yet. That's why I tell parents, I'm like, everybody's on their own track here. Okay. So don't compare yourself to this player or this player or this player, which is easy to do.
Yeah.
Certainly easy to do. But, for me, my first year, I hardly played. Second year, I was able to really take a big step in my hockey career. And then, things just kind of moved really quickly after that.
Yeah. Talk about draft day. How special was that? And, were you at the draft, and in what draft, like, where was that draft located at that time?
Yeah. So I was, after my second year there in Plymouth, we had a great year. We ended up losing in the conference finals to Barrie, which was Sheldon Keefe's team. So we lost there in game 7. And after that, the draft was a couple months later, and the draft was actually at the Saddle Dome in Calgary. So we went out there. We thought I was going to be a first or early second round pick. The Flyers ended up choosing us. Bobby Clarke went up there and said my name, and I was just shocked and elated. And
did you know where you're going in the first round? Was it you had some good meetings to know that was maybe going to happen, or you just kind of see how the cards play out?
I don't know. I mean, no one really knows. I mean, everybody, you have all these meetings and stuff with the GMs and brass and
So much
sports psychologists and I don't know where you're going to get drafted. You don't know. They say, "Oh, we like you. We're thinking of taking you," but no one really knows, right? No one really knows. That's why it's such a crapshoot. And I thought I was, but as the rounds and the picks got later and later and later, I was like, all right, well, maybe I won't, and that'll be fine. But having the Flyers choose my name was pretty special.
Yeah. How was it to play for that organization when you got to play there? Like, did you obviously getting your feet wet and getting that experience? How cool was it that, and it's such a cool, rich history organization too.
Yeah, I mean, just think for me, right? My first year in Plymouth, I was 16. I wasn't playing much. Got sent down to CompuWare. Had 1 year. The next year in Plymouth, had a great year, and then the next year after that, got drafted and made the team, the Flyers team opening night roster. And I'm 18 years old, 2 years removed from not being able to make an OHL team to playing in the NHL with Keith Primo and John LeClaire as my first line mates. Like it was just boom. It just happened so quickly for me. I was just able to get a shot. Craig Ramsey was the coach there at the time, and Bobby Clarke, the GM, and they gave me a shot. And I'm forever thankful for that.
Yeah. And then obviously you go over to Carolina. I think do you get traded in over Carolina? Talk about your time there. Obviously you set up roots there now, and I don't know what those conversations are with Ryan Smith there now that you guys won the cup against them. If he still thinks Rolison was in that, but
yeah,
do you guys have some good conversations about that? And then obviously winning your first Stanley Cup, how cool is that experience in that market, and putting that market kind of on the map in a way?
Yeah, no, he always brings it up.
Yeah.
I don't ever bring it up, but Ryan will bring it up every now and then, and he just says how it's so weird that his son could be wearing a Junior Hurricanes jersey right now,
Yeah.
judging by what happened in 2006. But I mean, listen, we there's certainly no hard feelings. That they wish he won, yeah, and we kind of have fun with it, but. It's been pretty great. So I got traded to Carolina to answer your question. Got traded to Carolina for Danny Markov, and then came to a team that was kind of just building, and I was able to get an opportunity again to play a much bigger role than what I was playing in Philly. Um, and we were just, we hit lightning in a bottle there right after the lockout there in 2006.
Yeah, yeah, it was obviously pretty fun to see that. And so you go to the LA Kings, win two Stanley Cups there, and as Futa always says, that team had, almost every single guy in that locker room was kind of a leader. And you did have Dustin Brown wearing the C, and how great player he was in his career. But your experience with the Kings and winning those two cups in kind of different fashions in a way. I guess maybe the first cup was pretty cool, and then obviously winning the Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup is quite a feat in itself.
Yeah, I mean, listen, those were, I had great times, great memories in Carolina, but the sustained success that we had in LA, I mean, I was there for 7.5 years. I mean, yeah, I can't say enough about the experiences that I had there and the success that we had there as a team, and the team that was constructed there through Fuchs and Dean Lombardi and many others. So I mean, an awesome team. We had our 10-year anniversary last year of the 2012 Stanley Cup, and then the 2014 Stanley Cup 10-year anniversary is this upcoming year as well. So when I say things happen fast, holy smokes, 10 years ago. I mean, it's crazy to think. And what a great time we had there in LA.
Yeah. Out of the three cups you won, is there one that sticks out a little bit more? Maybe they're all different in a way, obviously winning your first one, but the team that you guys had the teams you guys had in, obviously Carolina, but also LA are pretty special teams. Is there anything that kind of sticks out and you look back and you kind of, and like, wow, like that was, we were destined? And did you know going in, was it kind of, once you win that one series, you're kind of just like, it's pretty cool? Because I just always remember the Jonathan Quick, you guys are down against San Jose, and whatever Quick said to you guys coming by the bench, it just looked like you guys weren't going to lose, and you guys are down 3-0, and it's just the belief that he had in that group and you guys just turned it around and came back and won 4 straight. That was pretty
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when people say destiny, I don't
believe it.
I don't buy into that. A destiny is not a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice, and it's not something you wait for. Like you try achieve your destiny, and that's kind of what I've always kind of been. You get what you deserve. You reap what you sow. All that stuff, right? But we just had a lot of dogs on that team. A lot of guys who just weren't going to be denied. A lot of guys who were just I'm going to do every single thing I can. And it's one thing saying it, but it's another thing actually doing it on the ice. And, when you looked around at that dressing room, the guys on the bench, the guys you've won with, it's really hard to come to the conclusion that you can't do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And then obviously go to Washington for 2 years. They go on to win a Stanley Cup eventually. But when you were there, how cool was it kind of to be in that locker room? There were so many great players there, and getting that experience to play with one of the greatest, if not the greatest, goal scorer in Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, I mean, he's the greatest goal scorer of all time. I'll say it. He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just what he did there, and in the short 2 years that I had there, I developed a lot of great relationships. And unfortunately for me, but fortunately for them, I left the year after they had won the Stanley Cup. And I always say that the team that we had in Washington, my second year, was probably the most talented team I'd ever been on.
Yeah.
And we lost a bunch of guys the next year, and they ended up winning. So, I was just thrilled for them. Thrilled for a lot of guys in that team. And had a great time in Washington.
Yeah. And just the two more before we get you out. Obviously, you come back and finish your time in Carolina, and helping the kind of the group that's there now, and wearing the C, and then giving that off to to Stahl and that group that you have there. How special is it to see that group evolve in the way that they have so far, and getting to that next step is going to be so important, and being a part of that.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah. I mean, we're taking steps, right? Just one at a time. And some teams just are able to go right to the top right away, but but others do it step by step. And it seems like we're a team that's doing it step by step. We're doing it right every night. Coach Brendamore's got us going the right direction. Tom Dunnan, the owners from right at the top, his message is just being sent down the line, and this team is built for sustained success year over year. That's what we're trying to do here. And we've made it to the conference finals twice in the past 5 years, lost in the second round. So we're making strides. We just need to get over that hump, and we have a great team. We've obviously come up short of our goals, but we have a great roster, and I sense really great things from this team this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. They'll get going here, and once they do, it's going to be pretty fun. It's a good group, and Jordan Martinook was on with us a couple of years ago. It just what a beauty that guy is on and off the ice.
Yeah,
just a great person. So I'm not going to say the nickname because Futa told me to say it, but you'll get mad with the nickname, so I'm not going to say it. But you're going into the Carolina Hurricanes Hall of Fame there, and that's going to be a pretty special moment. So I get a quick thought on that, but also I don't know how the best way to ask this question is. Just the record in Game 7s is pretty great. The stats is pretty great, but was there something along the way? Obviously, you played with so many great players, and just having that calm demeanor. I can only relate it to maybe like my little hockey career that I had, and just ball hockey and whatnot. But it was always something I just kind of thrived on when those big moments happen, and it just kind of comes natural. That's the best way I could say it. I don't know if that's the best way you can say it for being the clutch player. And that was one thing that Tyler Toffoli said and Trevor Lewis said, it's just how clutch you were at the big games. But this is a quick thought. I know it's a two-part question, but the Hall of Fame and just being in those big moments, what it was like.
Sure. I mean, I guess I'll answer the Hurricanes one first. I mean, I'm honored and humbled to be chosen for the Hurricanes Hall of Fame. And the more I think about it, the more special, the more it increases in significance and in importance for me. It's just, to be joining Rod Brindamore and Rod Francis and Glenn Wesley and Cam Ward, in that little Hurricanes circle is pretty special, the more you think about it. And it should be a great night for my family. We should enjoy that a lot. And then, to answer your second question, about Game 7s and stuff, obviously people have asked me, what are your thoughts going into those games? And my answer has always been, number one, obviously had a great team. We had an unbelievable team. We had, as I said, in LA, I think five of those Game 7s happened. We had a team. We had a bunch of dogs who weren't going to be denied. So, being a part of that was awesome. But the second part of it is when I got into games, I was never wanted to be afraid to make a mistake. If I was going to make a mistake, so be it. But I wasn't going to err on the side of caution over apprehension, being unsure of what to do out there. I wanted to go get it. I wanted to be the guy who made the difference.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that guy. And we had a bunch of guys who wanted to be that guy as well. And we did. We had some great successes because of it. But I was just always never going to be scared out there. Always wanted to make the play. And maybe I'd be lining up against a guy that was next to me that was better than me. But for that one game, I made sure that I was a better player.
Yeah, that's awesome. Justin, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. All the best to you guys in Boston here, and great success throughout the rest of the season. It was an honor to have you on, and I will be cheering you guys on, throughout the year. And thanks for everything that you do for the game of hockey on and off the ice. It means a lot.
Yeah, no problem. I love the name of the podcast too. 2 Mutts Podcast. That's nice. You come up with that?
Who actually came up with it was Alex Petrovic came up with it. So with him. So I don't know if you remember playing against him, but yeah. So he came up with it. He's like, we had a weird name first, and then he's like, you know what? He's like, you should change it to this. And so it's been the 2 Months Podcast, and it's pretty cool. It's even yesterday, I just kind of went to an event and just sitting there with Ron McLean and Bob Stauffer. Just it's kind of cool. I never thought in a million years I'd be doing anything like this. It was always a dream, and just grew up with a couple guys here and there and that played. And just the game. It's the people in this game are so great and so humble, and it's an honor and again privilege to do it. It's the toy department of life, I guess you can say, right? So
yeah, well, good job growing the game.
Thank you so much. Have a good one. Cheers.
You bet.